that will help improve the yield.
Time to put the spotlight on agriculture value chain in Ghana on Agric Panorama on Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Agric Panorama is a radio program that is aimed at creating a unique platform for all farmers, traders, processors, transporters, wholesalers, and all other actors within the agric value chain. Agric experts, policymakers, students in agriculture, and other stakeholders as they participate in a panel discussion to unravel all that matters to improve agriculture and agribusiness sector, which is the backbone of Ghana's economy.
It's beneficial to the country in the sense that the non-companies in this country, the products these companies bring out are from Agric, or the raw products are from Agric, which has been processed into finished goods.
With Agric, as I was coming, I wanted to do biology, but my grandfather was the person who told me that, why don't you try agriculture? Because I'm a farmer, and look at where I am. So you can also try agriculture, and then you can see how far you go.
Agric Panorama will be broadcast live from the studios of Ɔdadeɛ Radio online every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. You can listen and contribute to this program via the Zeno FM radio app or Ɔdadeɛ Radio app from the Google Play Store or App Store. Also watch it live on YouTube or Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio or Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana. Ɔdadeɛ Radio, shine the light.
Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Like us on Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. You can WhatsApp or call us on 0200 092925.
Hello, a very good morning to all our listeners. You are all welcome to today's program, Agric Panorama. Our topic for today is a key mechanization, a key to food security in Ghana. Today, we have Kwame Amakohini here in the studio with me. We are expecting Nana Dako to join us as well. So, Kwame, my co-host, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing well, Senior Zonda.
Great. Before I introduce our panel members, first let me put out our studio numbers so that if you want to join us or send us a message, you can join the program. So I'm inviting all our listeners to tune in and to send in their questions ahead of time. On Facebook, we are on Ɔdadeɛ Radio and Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana. On Instagram and Twitter, we are at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. On our WhatsApp and SMS numbers, you can send us your questions on 02000 92 92 5. Our studio lines are 0302551014. Let me take the numbers again. Our WhatsApp number is 02000 92 92 5. Send us your messages on WhatsApp, or you can call the studio line on 0302551014. If you want to listen to the program online, you can check us out on the Zeno FM app on Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Zeno FM app on Ɔdadeɛ Radio, or the Ɔdadeɛ Radio app, which you can download from the Google or Play Store. Facebook live streaming Ɔdadeɛ Radio or Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana. Please tune in and send us your messages. So our guests for today, let me quickly introduce them. I have Ni Kwekuma. Ni, can you hear me? Hello, Ni, can you hear me? Hello, Ni.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, so I'm just going to mention your names and then you do a self-introduction because some of you will post a bit too much. So I have Cecil Sunkwamils also online. And I have Richard Ajiman also online. So let me start with Ni first. Ni, can you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Zonda. My name is Kwekuma, Ni Kwekuma. Ɔdadeɛ 79, Agro House Story. And I work with the International Fund for Agricultural Development. I used to work for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And right now I work with the UN agency, International Fund for Agricultural Development. Over.
Thank you. All right. Cecil.
Thank you. Thank you, Johnny. So my name is Cecil Sunkwamils. I currently am the CEO for TNC Farms. Previously, I've been in pay TV and banking. And so currently, I do farming and I serve on some other company boards. So that's me. And I'm a mobile guy. Yeah.
All right. So Richard, can you hear me, Richard? Hello, Richard, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So kindly introduce yourself.
Right, I'm Richard Ajepong, Ɔdadeɛ 94. I was in Engman House. I'm the chief servant at Adepa Agribusiness, young agribusiness located here in Accra. I also have many years of IT consulting and services background. Yeah.
All right, thank you guys for joining, and you are all welcome to the program.
I beg to go off video.
No worries. Yes, I know you are driving, so your connection is a little tough for you, but that's okay. So, as I said, our topic today is Agric Mechanization, a key to food security.
Hi, Johnny.
Hi,
Johnny.
Oh, Richard.
So this is
Jim. Yes. Oh, sorry, see that Jim boat. Sorry.
This is your old farmer.
Yeah. Please. Hey, our national best farmer. I beg you. Sorry. Please introduce yourself.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I signed in under another account. So my name is James Boateng.
Okay.
I own a big commercial in the Ghanaian context, a big commercial farm, over 1,500 acre farm. Our farm was adjudged the best farm in 2018. Before I ventured into farming, I'd spent about 32 years in corporate. Working for Coca-Cola, Cadbury's, British American Tobacco, Heinz Foods, all of that for 32 years. But the midpoint of my career, I thought that I would retire as a farmer. So I set up this farm. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, Senior Boat. So I have today some serious boardroom members who have turned into farmers now, or having rich experience to help us with our program. Okay, so just before we start the program, I'd like to just do a brief synopsis of the outline of this program and the objectives, so that when we put it into the right perspective as we go along, we can understand clearly what we are doing. Generally, we are trying to discuss national issues in agriculture and try to bring to the fore all the issues that are affecting the rapid development of the agricultural sector. We also want to spark some interest of all Ɔdadeɛs, and especially our Ɔdadeɛ students who are generally, encouraged to join Agric or take up agriculture as an alternative career. And we want to use this program also to mentor these students. We also want to share the rich experience experiences of our Ɔdadeɛs in agriculture and network amongst ourselves to develop ourselves and influence the national agenda in agriculture. We hope to use and we hope to discuss new technology and ways and methods to improve food production and other sectors of the agricultural economy and related business models that will all increase food productivity. This program also enables us to tap into rich experiences of some of our program guests who also help us with information, and there are people who are already in agriculture and their rich experience will also help us to grow. So gentlemen, you are welcome. We are supposed to have a lady on our program today, but unfortunately she went off air. I hope that she can join us later on in the program. This topic we have chosen this week is something that we are continuing from last week when we looked at food self-sufficiency, which actually then guarantees food security. It's the core of the matter of any country engaged in agriculture to be able to feed itself, as we said last week. And it's the guiding principle as to why any government will strive to increase its food production. The lack of it therefore leads to many challenges, and this week we are looking at some of these factors that can lead to food security. And one of those that we have identified today is agric mechanization. Before we start, my co-host, Kwame Amakwini.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you need to talk about your experiences with mechanization as well. So also you briefly introduce yourself before I introduce Nana Dako, the late Commander Nana Dako. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Kwame Amakwini. 1983, and Resource. I'm a CEO of CTA Engineering Ghana Limited. We are basically procurement people. I'm also a farmer. I think basically that's that. I'm also a mechanization engineer.
Yes, that's the one I wanted you to emphasize on.
Yes.
Yes. Nana Dako,
yes.
Please introduce yourself quickly. You are late.
Yes,
you are fine 3 sardines, and after the program, you will kneel down for about 30 minutes.
Amen. Yes, thank you. My name is Nana Kwame Dako. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
My name is Nana Kwame Dako. Also the 2001 year group. I was in the Laboni house. Currently, I'm with John Deere.
Okay.
John Deere is a tractor and agricultural construction equipment dealer.
Okay.
But it's being handled by Tata International.
Okay.
So I work there as a technical sales advisor.
Okay.
I'm also farming.
Great. That's good. So we have a number of our panelists on Zoom. So please, when you feel the need to speak and also contribute, please just raise your hands, draw my attention, and I'll get you on. The first part of our program today is how we are going to look at what agric mechanization actually means. And the second part will look at Ghana as a country and how we have embraced and applied mechanization.
Yeah.
So, well, my first question is, what is mechanization? And I want to put it to you, Kwame Amakwini, as somebody who has been in that field for a long time.
Thank you, Senior Zonda. Okay, I have 3 definitions for agricultural mechanization. One is that agric mechanization refers to the development and use of machines that can take place of human and animal power in agricultural processes. That's the first one. The second one is agricultural mechanization is the application of engineering principles and technology in agricultural production, storage, and processing of the farm. It is applicable to land preparation, planting, fertilizer application, weeding, and crop harvesting, rearing, caring, and feeding of animals, as well as processes and storage of farm produce. By applying this method, farmers are gaining more profits and able to increase their productivity and yield. And the last one that I have is simply agricultural mechanization or mechanized farming refers to the use of machines to farming. These are the 3 basic 3 definitions that I have for what agriculture mechanization is.
Okay, so if I'm listening out there and you are talking about Agric mechanization, my understanding of it is a little different from all these things that you are mentioning. And therefore, I want to ask the practitioners who are in the field what they know as Agric mechanization. So I'll first put it to Senior Jimbot.
Okay, for me, Johnny, as you've said, I'll give you a farmer's definition as I understand it. I know that with farming, I've been in farming many years, even before I went to college. And I know that most of the time we're using human labor, or a few times we use animals. So for me, my understanding of Agric mechanization is the use of machinery and technology in the application of agricultural practices sustainably and profitably. Instead of it is the use of machinery and the appropriate technology in agricultural practice instead of animal and human force at a profit.
Okay, thank you very much. Any others? Cecil. Hello, Cecil. Yes. So, how do you understand Agric mechanization?
For my kind of industry, it's basically looking at the use of technology and mechanization to enhance efficiency and to reduce your cost, which would eventually enhance also your profitability.
Okay.
So,
hey, you use the English bow. Richard. Richard. Hello, Richard. Yes. So how do you, as a practitioner, how do you understand Agric mechanization?
Right. I would definitely adopt all the aforementioned definitions, except that I will add that it's also by applying the technology and process, it also allows the farmer to deploy labor into other higher value opportunities that the labor would have been tied up with otherwise.
Okay, thank you very much. Nee. Hello, Nee.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Zonda.
So you tell us from that broader perspective how you look at the world and how you are looking at mechanization.
I wish I had that broad view of the whole world, but I think I'm truly grateful to colleagues for the definitions, which I believe are really the issues that we need to look at. I want to point out three important points that we need to take into account in order that what I'm basically saying is that the definitions that have been put forward are, I think they address the issue. What is key is that, one, we should think about sustainability. Two, we should think about profitability. And then three, we should deploy this along the entire chain. And the chain is not only for crop, but then it covers the crop, livestock, fisheries, and any other sector of agriculture. I think that once we bring all this in, we have a good definition of how to deploy power and technology to the best returns in agriculture. Over.
All right, thank you very much. Nana?
Yes.
Yes, so you guys are always, selling all these equipments to us. When you are selling to farmers, how do they see, it? Mechanization, how do they see it?
Yes, thank you. When a customer walks into the showroom, about, let's say, over 60% do not even understand what they are getting themselves into. Because if you listen to them, you realize that they want to get the equipment because they've heard that if you have the equipment, yes, then you can do big farm, you get more yield, and you make more profit. Listening to Senior Needs submission, he mentioned sustainability, profitability, and being, extended across all areas in agriculture. So if a customer comes and you don't have this in mind, then your idea is just to increase your farm size, and you think that it will automatically translate into profit, and then it's wrong. So we need a lot of education before you get there. So just jumping into mechanization, I want to be a mechanized farmer. It's not the solution at all. You also realize that when they come in, or anybody who is interested to go mechanize or do mechanized farming, it's not actually having economics, trying to put 1, 2 together and understand the investment that they are doing. So they come in, you sell an equipment to this person, you expect the person to come back, do an upsell, or even get some results from what he has invested in. This person might not come the next year, but will tell you the equipment has broken down.
Okay.
The equipment actually did not bring or yield any profit. So that's what we have realized from our side.
Yeah. Okay. Zonda, to add to what he's saying and what Nee said, the aim of mechanizing is very important. There are basically 3 things that your corporation or your farm or whatever you're doing should be. 1, that mechanization should bring efficiency, number 1, productivity, number 2, and profitability. So when the process is looking at what you do normally, okay, and by the definition we are trying to replace those things by machines. But by replacing it, you have to look at these 3 things I've said, because there are many times that you can bring in a machine and it's not that efficient. You are using a tractor on a 1 acre farm, and you are just wasting more fuel, buying spare parts and things, because the 1 acre and the tractor you are using it doesn't match, or something like that. So those 3 points in mechanization is very important, so that it becomes useful. If not, people tend to have a problem with that. It should be efficient, it should be productive, and it should be profitable.
Okay, so I'll be asking my other panelists soon if there's a downside to mechanization, because every time we talk about the benefits of mechanization, and people seem to see that the benefits are what we yes. So there's an argument for and against mechanization. I want us to look at the against a bit. Why do you think this is so?
Hi, Johnny.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, Johnny.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just want to interrupt and add on something briefly.
Okay, go ahead.
Probably before we look at the benefits and the disadvantages.
Okay.
I just want to give a quick example to highlight what Kwame and Richard have said.
Yeah.
They deal, the business people and they offer mechanization solutions.
Okay.
But as a farmer, and sometimes looking at ourselves and other farmers, I just want to give a couple of live examples. 3 gentlemen pooled resources together. They took about 2,000 acres of land in the Nkransa area, not far from my farm. These were very, very academically literate people, but they were agriculturally illiterate. Unfortunately, they came in and they wanted solutions into drones and all the big high sounding things. And they had only some 200-acre maize farm. They brought down a combined harvester, which they rented from somewhere, a huge one. They had to spend 3 weeks, 4 weeks to be able to create access to their farm. So whilst the machine was packed, they were losing money. And then when finally they were able to take the machine to the farm and they finished harvesting, the machine got stuck because they didn't read the weather. So it was a complete disaster. As a result, the whole enterprise has collapsed in 2 years. Wow. So what I want to say is that these are things happening even to people who should know better. And so he mentioned, I think, I don't know whether it's Kwame or whether it's Richard, mentioned education.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think it's just the peasant farmers, the small scale farmers who need education. No, it is everybody who is going to agribusiness or agriculture needs the requisite level of education to be able to go in. And it is these failures which have tended to give agriculture a very bad name.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So I just want to add that.
All right. Thank you very much. I think that's very important. Real examples. The practice things. Yeah.
Jerry, if to add to that, in fact, I know these farmers. they bought the equipment for me, and I've been there. and to add to it, unfortunately, when they were even able to harvest, they didn't have storage.
Okay.
And they were putting it also on trampolines.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So it was a whole disaster. The investment went bad. It went bad.
Okay.
I know them.
You know, Zonda, there is a way to go mechanizing. You know, when you read from the all the definition I've said, it's a process where you are replacing human and animal distance. You know, it's a process that you go, you know, and the process sometimes is a study. What we have learned in it is that first you look at the process itself, what you are doing already. You know, you have to look at the whole area. You have to, there's so many things that you have to look at. The space, the access, the land, I can go on and on and on. Then you have to sit down and then look at all the machinery and the technology and things that are available. And then the selection of it, the selection of machinery to work with that overhead, that it should be efficient, it should be productive, and it should be profitable. You know, so there's so many things about you just don't bring machinery. Sometimes I see some machines in town. You know, I saw some huge combine harvesters at the port. I thought really it was going to Burkina, but I later got to know it was Ghana. I mean, I was saying, hey, where are they going to use this? It's so big that I don't know, maybe there's farms that can use it, but I would have had about 5 smaller ones, thinking about some bridge on the way that maybe this combine harvester cannot go through, or the bridge is so weak that it might fall. You know, it's holistic. You have to look at the whole thing, whole feasibility, and before you choose a machine. If you remember, I don't know how many years ago, I was saying that almost every district should have its own Agric mechanization sort of policies in a way, because there are some places where the land is not that flat. There are trees, there are stumps, and all those things. Mountains, and every place can be mechanized, but it's not a general thing. That you know, it's not just general. It has to be studied, and it has to go.
So we
according
need a lot
to
of market research to be able to even apply mechanization properly. You know, we'll come to that aspect, policy. We'll come to policy, but before we do that, you know, somebody's hands on the line. Hey, whose hand is up? Richard, right? Richard, go up.
Yeah. This is Richard.
Go ahead, Richard.
This is Richard.
Yeah. Oh, Richard, we are losing you. You have to position yourself well.
Yeah.
Richard, we can't hear you. Your line is bad. No, we can't hear you at all. Maybe you can send. Maybe you can send a message.
So I guess.
Oh,
hello?
yeah, Richard.
Okay.
We lost you there.
All right, Johnny.
Yeah.
Yes, just a moment. Yeah, is it better now?
It's clear.
Yeah, it's better. It's clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Right. I was saying that my experience in the whole mechanization journey is new. I mean, I've been practically on the ground for just a few months, but I have this to share. That is that, yes, there's only so much you can learn by yourself. And so it's also a good idea to consult. You try to describe what you're trying to do in very simple layman terms. You don't try to go with a fixed mindset, and speak to people who have gone before you or people who provide services and say, look, this is what I want to do in this particular location for this particular type of activity. What are the options that are available to me? And then, you listen, you ask what I call your stupid questions, not to be shy, to sound ignorant, because then you stand a good chance that you will not repeat mistakes that others have had solved already.
Okay, so I think that this experience, I have had it too, where when I started my coconut plantation, I had the land. And therefore I thought, oh, wow, great, 35 acres, let me just go and plant. Now, I started initially because I just started with about 500 seedlings, so I could plant. Now, when I wanted to expand this whole 35 acres, the tractor I wanted to come couldn't access the land.
Yeah.
And when I asked how much it would cost me if they were to get a bulldozer to bulldoze the road and let the tractor come, it was going to cost me about today's money, what, 10,000 Ghana cedis just to bring the tractor.
The bulldozer.
Yes, just the bulldozer. So it wasn't in my budget. And I can imagine that there are so many other people out there who are, they haven't done the research enough. Even the choice of your farm location is important if you want to use mechanization, I think.
Yes.
So Tony, I've had my hand up.
Yeah, please go.
Just to support what you said, and was it Richard? One of the things that, I've been in farming and left farming, went into corporate fully and back. But even though I had prior knowledge, a lot of things have changed. But starting, you find that when you are looking for information, okay, it's important that, yes, you put all, you have to do A, B, C, D, E. But I think that also the institutions that provide mechanization, I think they must work more with groups of people where there's a knowledge base. Because if I have money and I come, and I want to buy this, I think it would be good that yes, it's good to make a sale, but they must do the assessment to make sure that the person who is asking for this investment has enough support, and in terms of community support, before the guy spends the money. In the 2,000-acre case like this, it's quite sad that, even before they bought the machine, they could have received a bit more advice. That, look, and honest advice. We have to be honest with ourselves that you cannot spend if what you are buying and that it may not work well. If they don't listen, that's fine. But group-wise, it is good. When I came back into poultry, one of the things, of course, the standards you want to set are high, abattoir, this, that, bring FDA and that. And I looked at the cost of, setting up an abattoir and that. But if I look at my production per month, eventually I realized that, well, with the cost of an abattoir to meet the standards, to have, to be able to supply some institutions that have a certain quality standard, okay, of course, we're looking big-eyed. Maybe you want to do KFC, etc. They have standards. But to meet it, I must build an abattoir and production and all that. When you look at it, it does not seem to make sense. But partnerships, okay, there was an existing, there's a farm that had been there. They won Greater Accra, I think 2 years consecutive. They have an abattoir. So what I said, okay, instead of building my stuff, why don't I do my dressing at this place? So partnerships can help, but I think the institutions that want to push mechanization should actually also invest time and effort in the education of the farmers. The ministry must have contact points where if you are looking for information, I'm telling you, when you are looking for information, it is so difficult to come by. Because if I don't know Richard, I don't know this, and I want to do it, I would ask questions, but I don't get the right answers. Where do I go to that I can get great advice or good advice and going? It is hard, very difficult to find for farmers.
Thank you. That's a very important intervention. So basically, what do we, what?
Zonda, permit me.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. We've had some power issues, so.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, got it. Well, first and foremost, thank you, colleagues, and enormous thanks to Cecil. To have a mobile person amongst us is really a blessing. So, Cecil, thank you so much for making time to join us, have this conversation on Ɔdadeɛ Radio. I hear you on the issues. Partnerships are really, really important because, we cannot do it all. So if we can, as it were, spread the cost and get others who have the comparative advantage to support us, we make great strides. When you talk about the information sources, I hear you, and of course, I haven't been in GH in a while, so things may have changed. But I know, and I would say that first and foremost, if you need information on Agric mechanization, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has the Department of Agric Engineering, and that is quite a well-known department. Secondly, the district assemblies have the district agricultural offices, and I believe that for any farmer in any district, your first point of call is the district agricultural office. And if you don't find the information you're looking for, hopefully they will be able to direct you to where else you can find it. But I just want to bring it all down to what Bolt was saying: education. How do we empower our extensionists? How do we empower the people in the Agric offices to be able to share the right information and be able to guide people accordingly? But just to emphasize the point that yes, there are sources that you can get information, and we should also have a hammer on that so people can know where to go. Over.
Yeah, thank you very much, Senior. So there's a question about does mechanization simply mean using tractors and large equipment? Because whilst we're talking, everybody's thinking about having a tractor, combine harvester, and things like that. Is mechanization only using that? Maybe let me give a small example of something that maybe is simple, but it's also mechanization. For example, if you're educated in some in farming and let's say pets or some insects that come onto your farm, you know what to do with it and how to protect yourself. But let's say you go into your farm and you find an insect there that you don't know what to do. Normally, you are supposed to sort of capture this insect and try and get to your district or your extension officer to ask about this insect, whether it's a useful one or it's something that would destroy your crop and things like that. They will take it, and maybe if he knows it immediately, he will give you an answer. If not, he has this catalog that he might have to look in or go to another friend and things like that. Now, just think about it. If nowadays you have a smartphone, you can take a picture of this insect and send it directly to him for an answer. Or I'm sure maybe there are apps that are available where you can take the picture of the insect, send it there, and you have the information as to what to do with it there. This is also mechanization. It's just the smartphone that you have in your hands. It's also, and using that technology that is available to you, it's also mechanization. So mechanization is not only the tractors and the combine harvesters and the things that we have. So mechanization has just every technology that is available, but you look at the process, what you are doing, and use it. Again, I always stress, profitably, efficiently, and productively. Yes, sir.
Great. Any other comments from the panel?
Johnny and Kwame, can you hear me, please?
Yes, you can. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Can't hear you. Go ahead.
Yes. So quick one. It is good that we're making these suggestions. Yes, you take a picture. These are all good things, and those of us practitioners, we do it almost on daily basis. We are in touch with the area Agric extension officers. Because of where I'm coming from, I can have access to the Ministry of Agric, MOFA, head office. But let's look at the reality on the ground. I mean, if the statistics are clear, about 80% of our farmers are peasant farmers, but they also contribute about 85% of all the food we eat. So if we're thinking of food security, whereas we do not want to encourage smallholder farming, for now, we cannot leave them behind, but probably work to empower them to scale up. Now, most of these farmers peasant farmers are illiterate. Majority of them may not even have the confidence of walking into some of these agricultural offices. So anytime I have the opportunity, I talk to them that you need to be proactive. If for nothing at all, I'm aware that over the last 3 years or so, government has provided about 3,000 motorbikes and pickups to these offices, district offices, at the headquarters in Accra. People should be proactive. Now, I'll end this by just I love giving live examples, just so that these will be brought to life. I needed to take decisions on which crops to cultivate between cereals, tree crops, legumes, etc. I mean, I'm into snail farming, started it as an amateur, but now it's becoming a serious business, close to 40,000 snails and all that. But I wanted information from MOFA, only for me to discover that they've been preparing every year what they call crop budget, which tells you the relative profitability of whatever you go in all the way down to your return on investment. They have it, they prepare it, and they keep it there. So I'm just putting this on board. Those of us who are close to policymakers, and especially people who are there to support farmers, that they need to be much more proactive. In Nkranza, where I live, you look at the Agric mechanization place, there are 2 tractors parked with a few power tillers and all that. Most of the time they are parked, they are idling. The average farmer does not even know that they can just walk in and demand to have it work for them, and they pay for it. So I'm just saying that given where some of us are, we're close to policymakers, we're close to the political heads, we're close to some of the technical people. There is a need for a lot more proactivity in what they do. So that's just my small contribution.
Thank you, Jim. Senior Jim Boot. I don't want to forget the senior. Yes. Yes. I think we'll touch on policy down the line. But I just want to share a statistic that I have, that according to the FAO, Africa has less than 2 tractors per 1,000 hectares of cropland, whilst there are 10 tractors per 1,000 hectares in South Asia and Latin America. Why can't farmers afford tractors, and why don't we have a system that even allows them to hire tractors at affordable prices, like just as Senior Boot was just sharing with us? I want to put this to Kwame and Nana Dako.
Okay, so talking about this stats, in 2013, FAO also gave this ratio, that in Ghana, 1 tractor is to 1,500 smallholder farmers. So till date, I don't know whether it has changed. Okay. But what it means is that the average farmer, if you put them, let's say about 10 or 20 farmers in a community, possibility that they will not get a tractor is almost 500 to 1,000%. Because there's no way 1,500 farmers all chasing 1 tractor
at the
same time, also at the mercy of the weather or rain dependent farmers chasing 1 tractor. So this ratio that you gave, about 2 tractors to 1,000 hectares, is telling us that we need more tractors, or we need more equipment. we need more support if we will be able to sustain our production level.
Okay, and Kwame did make a point about the type of even tractor that you need. Because if you're a smallholder farmer, you don't need the type of tractor that is needed on a big commercial farm.
Yes, I was coming to that. Yeah, because listen, I have also this experience to share. I have for myself. I've bought and it's still in my garage a power tiller.
Okay.
A power tiller that has a rotavator, a plow, a harvester, everything. I love. It's my job and I love it as a hobby, and I bought it. I have a small 10-acre farm in the Sawam area, and I was like, okay, this is enough for a 10-acre farm. But believe up to now, since I bought it, I have never been able to use it because my land is not cleared for mechanization. I never thought of it till I did the land. I mean, there are stones, there are stumps, there are all sorts of things that I cannot use my small equipment, which is okay for a normal farm size of 10 acres, efficient and everything that I've spoken about. But just that I will need a bulldozer, and you said you need a road. I need a bulldozer to just clear, and I cannot afford a bulldozer to come and just take off the trees and the stumps and make it mechanization labo, if that's if it's a word to say. So yes, sometimes we talk about tractor, but it's not all the time about just the tractor a year ratio. Let me put also in record that when we talk about mechanization, immediately we have to know that it's an increase. You have to have you are increasing in productivity, you are increasing in size, and if not, mechanization becomes a nonsense. Immediately you say mechanization, that means you have to increase. How you have to increase? Either you coming together as small holders, or one large farm, or all those things come in the planning of mechanization. Okay, but one thing that is keeping these things going down is the lands are not cleared enough for mechanization. It's different from land preparation. I'm talking about land clearing. That let me put it this way: it's like you want to do transport, coach transport, buses, but you have no roads. That's you don't have roads. That is how it is. You see a tractor going onto a field which is not cleared for mechanization. He hits a stone, he passed through a stump, so, and it's so expensive. You can imagine if you have a very beautiful house, you might not have enough money to do the road to your house, even if it's just some 10 meters. It's very expensive. So somewhere along the line, the conversation should go as to land clearing for agricultural purposes. I believe that it should be something that has to be taken up, just like how we are developing roads. The funding, road toll, whatever it is, to get land cleared for agriculture. I'm saying that because you don't need a big tractor all the time. You can have, when your land is cleared and it's proper, you can have this power tillers, you can have small tillers, you can have things, especially when Senior both said about 80% of our farmers are peasants and smallholders. What are they going to do with a tractor, even if the lands are not together?
Okay, so let me just, for clarity's sake.
Yes, sir.
You talk about land clearing. Let me take somebody who's in the poultry industry. And at least I have Cecil here, so maybe he can speak on that. And we are talking about mechanization, so I don't need land clearing. But I want to increase my productivity. So definitely I have to apply whatever in the area that I am. So it's mechanization only for like commercial farming, really.
Well,
okay. Really, for poultry, there are 3-4 major points. First is you're looking at the development of hatcheries in country, that is where you get your source, because that is for those in planting, you are talking about seed. Yeah. So the acquisition of your day-old chicks, the hatchery portion is another portion that we have to deal with. Currently, we import most of the day-old chicks. In fact, you can hardly get the local farmers who have the potential have continuously disappointed the farmers. Then you come to the feed production, which is another whole area of mechanization, which can happen. Most of it sits in private hands. So that is being managed. But the next stage is actually the processing and further processing of the birds for market. Okay. So in my case, I did mention to solve my hatchery, my source of input, I import. I'm caught there all the time with Forex now these days. The cost of day-old chicks, because we don't have it locally, we have to import, and Forex is changing day by day. So that's a challenge. Feed production, what I do is I buy my ingredients myself, because I thought, when you buy the finished products and it's fixed, there's an issue of cost and quality. So that I procure myself, but I go to a mill. So I don't own a mill. I could decide that, to cut my cost, let me do my own, let me buy my own feed mill, let me mix. But I find that I look at the cost and I'd rather use the outsourced thing. But I would buy my own ingredients. I buy my ingredients that are from a source. There are Forex inputs there that is also a very different problem there. And then packaging. Johnny, you realize that, and sorry to everybody listening, why is the imported frozen chicken working well? Because it's properly packaged, even though it's 5, 6, 10 years old, properly packaged and properly stored. And properly stored. Yes, there's a big appetite for local chicken, but when you wanted access, you find it is not properly packed. 3, you have quality issues, if it is. 2, if you want to buy live chicken, you will travel too far. It's too inconvenient. And the other thing is storage, and is one area that we also need to look at, and that is in the use of technology in terms of storage. We call it frozen imported chicken. Why is it frozen? Because they produce huge numbers of chicken, they portion, package, and freeze it. It can sit for years. Okay. So this is a complete thing which is absent in the poultry chain. We see there's a bit of focus more for fisheries. They are building their fishing landing harbors, they're providing cold rooms so that when the fishermen come through, they are able to have somewhere to freeze their fish. What has happened to poultry? This is the biggest gap that we also need to close in the poultry industry, so that even when you produce, because where most farmers make a loss, if you are doing broiler, honestly, between 6.5 to maximum 8 weeks, your bird should not be eating on your farm anymore. It should be processed and packaged. But you find most farmers estimate, because of the way the market is, they estimate, some go 12 to 16 weeks. So basically at that time you are still feeding the birds. So by that time it's a complete erosion of profit. The conversion of feed by 8-9 weeks, you are in decline. So technology must be used to close this gap, and we must still do at this point. Yes, some of us are using freezers and that. Some are venturing. I'm sharing a cold store facility with a partner farmer, for example, to hold beds, etc. The same people who have the abattoir. But this chain needs attention. It needs attention. So when it comes to policy, but that is also the use of that. The last one I would speak about is packaging. We have the normal plastic bags, etc. But really, that is not food grade polythene. However, that is what is available. Normally, we should have a food grade that we should be able to probably shrink wrap. When you package it like that, you can actually store a chicken for 9 to 12 months frozen. And when you thaw it, it will be like it was killed yesterday.
I see.
That is what if it's a food grade package. I have been combing looking for that type of package here, but it looks like I have to. I'm beginning to look outside to achieve that kind of packaging, so the freezing cycle can give the quality that is required. So these are some of the areas that. Other things is in terms of production, feeding your birds and giving them water. Okay, you can completely automate it, but there's a cost to having that done. So if you look at the number of beds, etc., versus your cost of labor, you can have the boys and they'll use buckets and regularly wash the bowls and do that. Okay, instead of the automated system. But it depends. You have to look at, of course, that is where you look at your actual cost of having it done. But remember that for feeding and automation, and you know our people, you must make sure that the drinkers, your people on the farm are keeping them clean. Because I have farmers who also automated, and now the boys do not clean the drinkers anymore. They just keep, because the water keeps going. So it's a cross of,
Okay. All right. Thanks.
So there are also areas there. Yeah.
So as we are all, alluding to, mechanization is not just the use of tractors, but believe that tilling land, planting, harvesting, processing, and storage could all use mechanization if we want to increase production and food security. Do we understand this principle? I'm coming to you in a minute. Do we understand this principle that we are talking about, and are we working to achieve this from the point of view from other stakeholders? So if I just ask a poultry farmer, okay, if I were to take the same question and ask Richard, who is doing fishing, what would you have to tell us, Richard?
All right. Okay, so to give some perspective to my answer, in the case of Adepa, what we are doing is a farm that is located in an urban space, and that imposes its own interesting constraints and I'll say opportunities as well for mechanization or technology input. Now, in our case, we are farming catfish, and for people who are familiar with catfish farming, generally what these farms tend to do is that you're either doing this in the concrete ponds or the tarpaulin ponds. But whichever way you do this, one of your key inputs is water. You need a lot of water because, the water gets dirtied by the fish as part of their feeding and, other regular natural needs. Now, in our case, for instance, we have looked into filtering the water and recycling this. And when we are doing so, we can actually take part of the sludge that is as a result of the process and use it to potentially grow, other crops. So that can become some other, value activity. So that's one example of the kind of mechanization we are doing. Normally, most farms, they will just spill the water. You can't do this when you're in an urban space. So that is something that in our case we are doing. Also, one interesting thing that I think most farms today can look into is to augment their security by introducing CCTV. And this is something, for instance, that we're doing in real time. The CCTV, of course, doesn't go to sleep. And you actually, depend on where you're located in Ghana, and now it's increasingly becoming the possibility, you would have internet, and you can actually stream your footage out onto cloud storage so that even if you have some attack of your CCTV system, that footage is still available. And there are other kinds of things that we are exploring. For instance, acquiring water parameters digitally. So your temperature, your pH, and all of these things you can acquire digitally instead of having somebody put in probes. They might forget, they might record the inputs wrongly and things like that. So yes, clearly the conversation around mechanization, technology involvement in agriculture can go into the other value chains as well. And in fact, it can also enable, I would say, new possibilities, because if you have, say, investors or other interested stakeholders who must be carried along on your journey in real time or day by day, and you have the right technologies implemented, it becomes easier to have them have their answers without, stressing anyone at any point in time in the day. So this is the contribution that I can make.
Okay. Just quickly, with all that we are talking about increasing productivity with mechanization, isn't there a danger of decreasing employment, especially in the commercial farming area, and rob people of their livelihoods? And I want to ask Nikwekuma, because usually this is what we are being told: mechanization, commercial farming. In Ghana, where most of our farmers are small-scale farmers, and labor is what is being used on this for hard. I'm talking about hard labor, where you take maybe 10, 15, 20 people on your farm to come and do your clearing of land, harvesting, spraying, and all those. Won't it reduce? Isn't there a danger of reducing employment?
Yeah, Zonda, thanks a lot. It's a clear and present danger, I will admit to that. But we can eat our cake and have it. The thing is, if we want to go, big, then we must do the things that will make us go big. But I'm taking the example that Cecil gave in terms of the washing of the water crops and the feeders, etc. That is not going to be automated. Simply, you will still have some hands. So whatever we do, and I'm sure that both will attest to that and will give us some examples as well. Whatever we do, we'll still have some hands to work with. One of the areas that I think we've just gone past, but I didn't have the opportunity to make the contribution, was the deployment of mechanization and how that will relate to our small-scale farmers. Kwame was saying that with mechanization, it's all about increase. I think that for the 80% small-scale farmers we're talking about, their difficult one will be more of reducing the drudgery. So having mechanization to reduce the drudgery, it will be the first step to start looking at not leaving our small-scale farmers behind. Then there are land holdings permitting, we can increase the size. But what remains crucial at this moment for those group of people, and to keep them in business and to make sure that they're also profitable, is to ensure that the drudgery is reduced. So instead of going to do your 2 hectares or 2.5 acres with a cutlass and a hoe, you could have the machinery till the land, at least for you to open it up for cultivation. So yes, labor stands at great risk, but it's a necessary evil if we have to start looking at expanding on our holdings and increasing our production. Over.
All right, thank you. So we are going to go on a quick break, commercial break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask the practitioners again how mechanization has truly impacted on what they are doing, or how we are practicing in Ghana, and in what kind of form. And when we come back, very shortly.
Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Like us on Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. You can WhatsApp or call us on 0200 092925.
Agriculture plays a crucial role to our country's development with a huge contribution to Ghana's GDP whilst providing for our food needs at the same time.
They should know that Agric is the backbone of every country. Honestly, you began by giving us the percentages, but it used to be 70% that Agric contributes to the economy. It's because of certain lapses that has made a figure decline.
I don't know why they see farming as a bad occupation, because in other developed countries, they take Agric very seriously and they make a lot of money out of farming. They use a lot of modern technology to improve their yield, but over here, we only see it as the use of certain man-made or small implements such as cutlass and hoe, which don't really do much. If you want to go into mass production, which will bring you a lot of money, you use a lot of modern technology that will help improve the yield.
Time to put the spotlight on agriculture value chain in Ghana on Agric Panaroma on Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Agric Panaroma is a radio program that is aimed at creating a unique platform for all farmers, traders, processors, transporters, wholesalers, and all other actors within the Agric value chain. Agric experts, policymakers, students in agriculture, and other stakeholders as they participate in a panel discussion to unravel all that matters to improve agriculture and agribusiness sector, which is the backbone of Ghana's economy.
It's beneficial to the country in the sense that renowned companies in this country, the products these companies bring out are from Agric, or the raw products are from Agric, which has been processed into finished goods.
With Agric, as I was coming, I wanted to do biology, but my grandfather was the person who told me that, why don't you try agriculture? Because I'm a farmer, and look at where I am. So you can also try agriculture, and then you can see how far you go.
Agric Panorama will be broadcast live from the studios of Ɔdadeɛ Radio online every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. You can listen and contribute to this program via the Zeno FM radio app or Ɔdadeɛ Radio app from the Google Play Store or App Store. Also watch it live on YouTube or Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio or Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana. Ɔdadeɛ Radio, shine the light.
What does the Bible say? And what sort of light does it throw on any life-related issue? John chapter 1 verse 5 states, "And the light shineth in darkness, and darkness comprehended it not." Light for Life is a Christian panel discussion program on all life-related issues and how the Bible helps us in its day-to-day application. Jesus said in John chapter 8 verse 12, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have light of life." Light for Life will also seek to find out life application of any given Bible teaching and also see how the transformed lifestyle gained is demonstrated in all aspects of life. The program will also aim to help the unbelieving listener to gain knowledge, understanding, and wisdom in solving life issues, and more importantly, to commit him or herself to a true relationship with God. Beloved, my name is Reverend Godwin Kwashi, and I invite you to join me and my guests on the Light for Life program as we discuss various topics that includes marriage, character building, parenting, spiritual development, prayer, heaven, what it means to be a Christian, and so much more. Light for Life would broadcast live on Ɔdadeɛ Radio online this and every Sunday from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. and a repeat broadcast on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. You can listen to this program via the Zeno FM radio app or Ɔdadeɛ Radio app from the Google Play Store. I trust that as we engage in this Light for Life program, we'll all be able to say to our God, "In thy light we shall see light." God richly bless you as you tune in.
I don't know what I would do without him. Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Like us on Facebook at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. You can WhatsApp or call us on 0200 092925.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. I have a few messages, but before I do that, let me just quickly put out our social media handles and numbers again. On Facebook, we are on Ɔdadeɛ Radio at Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana. Instagram and Twitter at Ɔdadeɛ Radio. WhatsApp number or SMS number is 02000 92 92 5. Our studio line 0302 551014. WhatsApp number again 02000 92 92 5. Our studio lines 0302 551014. You can listen to us by tuning into the Zeno FM radio app or the Ɔdadeɛ radio app from the Google or Apple store. We are streaming live on Ɔdadeɛ Radio and at Ɔdadeɛ Radio Ghana. I have a few messages that have come in, and one says, the people with experience are not very forthcoming. I can say the person I sought mentorship from duped me and left me when I needed him the most. I need James Barton's number. Senior Boat, they need your number. They are not sure. They are not as available as they say. I would love to learn from James Barton because we are in the same area and I know him from the past. This is from Felix Bigger. He said, in Ghana, farming in Ghana, new entrants should not be seen as competition. This is a big part of the problem. The ones in it see new entrants as competitors and do not share experience willingly. So this is still from Felix. James, over to you. But let me ask my question so that when you are answering, just take note of it. You answer that as well. Okay. Right. So I was saying that is mechanization actually truly practiced in Ghana in the form that we are discussing? Has it been successful? And what do we need to increase and leverage on it? And I wanted to put this to, I'm going to put this to Jim Booth, but I think Kwame wanted to make some intervention before we go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Senior Zonda. It's about the unemployment thing. Yes, it's something that we cannot do without, but we can be prepared for it. You see, mechanization raises the level of the society from unskilled to skilled, and sometimes if we know we are going there, then we should be prepared. Let me take just one tractor as an example and then see how much jobs it will create. You have a tractor, you need a tractor operator. Mind you, I didn't say a driver because some of them are driving. We need an operator. This is a skilled job. He might have a mate also. You will need, diesel mechanic. This is a skilled person. You need an auto electrician. You will need a vulcanizer for the tires. You will need a welder for. I can go on, and this is just one tractor. Now, all these people I've mentioned, vulcanizer, mechanic, electrician, all those things, even greaser, these are direct. The indirect ones, you need those who sell spare parts, those who sell fuel and the lubricants. And so if you can imagine how the society will be just growing up with all this, just one tractor. I haven't mentioned combine harvesters, pumps, feed units, all those things that you can get from
boom sprayers and knapsacks.
Boom sprayers and what happens is that the whole society now has to be skilled. And therefore, you have to prepare with this knowledge. Your educational system itself should be towards something like that. Because, of course, an operator will take more, a welder will take more, and everybody grows up. So that's how sometimes we have to look at it. It will, yes, for the challenge, it will be a problem. But if you have planned it within some few years, you see that people are benefiting from the implementation of mechanization in the society. That's what I wanted to add.
Okay, thank you. So, Senior Jimbot,
yes,
I'm putting a question to you as the practitioner.
Yes.
Is mechanization actually being truly practiced in Ghana?
Yep.
And has it been successful? What do we need to do to increase and leverage on it?
Right. I think before I tackle that, let me just assure the person who sent the message that
yes, Richard, yeah.
I think that Kwame will attest to it that my farm really practices a very open door policy. Kwame's year group paid a visit to my farm, spent about 3 days, and I'm sure that we learned from them and they learned from us.
I'm here to get an invitation.
It's coming soon. Okay. So it is truly available. I can also, even to give an example, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce surprisingly called me and they said they come in 30 people. They want to come and see what is happening on the ground and see if they can be mentored. So yes, I'm available. Whoever needs my number, so far as it's on this platform, you can give it out.
Yeah.
Because the best way to do it, and anytime that people have visited my farm, I've learned equally. So we are very, very positive towards that. Okay. Yes. So the question is whether mechanization is being practiced the way we intend it to be. I mean, definitely no. However, it's fair to say that since independence from the Kwame Nkrumah days when I was a kid, we've always heard of tractor mechanization through the state farms, government upon government. It was very refreshing when you sent out the policy on agric engineering.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Now, that's just a policy, and that's sometimes the problem we have in this part of the world. FASDEP, which is the entire agricultural, food and agricultural strategic development plan. If anybody has the time to read it, it's one of the best documents, well articulated, giving background, proper analysis. It is when we come down to the implementation that sometimes we do have gaps. And the gaps is only not at the grassroots. Sometimes policymakers will not even follow up what they've promised in those fine documents. So obviously, it is not being practiced the way it's been intended. And even now that we have a well-articulated policy on agric engineering, I'm afraid it's not being done. Some efforts are being made. And agric mechanization generally from a farm practitioner's point of view, from my personal point of view, I think that sometimes we get inappropriate equipment. I mean, Kwame and Richard mentioned it. Even sometimes government is guilty till today. They bring in equipment. If you look at our land tenure system and land holding, little families, little plots of land, some of the equipment that they have in some of the AMSECs are just not going to work. Kwame's experience of having rough terrain on his farm and not being able to use the power tiller. There are 10 power tillers in Nkransa and they are not working. They are barely 18 months old, brought in by government. So inappropriate equipment. And they're not working because I'm not sure that they took time to look at the terrains of where people are planting maize and rice and legumes. And obviously there is a farmer population of about 70,000 around the Nkransa area. And normally I want to give examples from what I know. 70,000 farmer population, doing maize, doing poultry, doing some fishing. We do some fish farming, even though not on a large scale, but 70 people are doing agriculture in this sector. Just one district, Agric district. And there are only 10 power tillers, available for 70,000 farmers. Definitely inadequate, but these are just some examples. It's just a shame, but I guess that some of these topics we may have to take up again so that we can also, we'll be able to petition the policymakers, government, and the politicians. We are all aware. If you sit in the middle belt, and sometimes you look at the rate at which tractors are allegedly being smuggled out of this country, tractors that are subsidized by government with taxpayers' money. They head to the north and they vanish into neighboring countries. It's a shame, but I'm sure that probably we'll have another time to talk about these areas and keep prompting the policymakers. Agric mechanization is not working. Again, I mentioned that sometimes some farmers don't even know that some mechanization solutions are available. And I mentioned in Nkransa, it was a shame, farmers were looking for tractors. And somebody came in and set up some kind of a tractor, trotro, look-alike, and he was getting the business. and the Agric extension people were sitting back in their offices, and people didn't know until I pushed them to go on the local radio and announce. So sometimes people are not even aware. Some of the power tillers that I talked about are not functioning properly simply because they bring the equipment, and sometimes the after-sales support servicing is not there. Basic small mini equipment, even they brought down some mini planters. The idea is great, but they come and they lie down because who cares about following up to make sure that they are working? These are just a few of the reasons why mechanization, in spite of the fact that we've always had it, and number two, in spite of the fact that we've always had, we have just recently had a solid policy. Like most policies in this country, it is the implementation and the monitoring which doesn't work. But let me just end by quickly giving just a quick live example of how even the basic level of mechanization, if you got it well, how it can impact productivity. And I'll use my farm. I had a 100-acre farm, which started fruiting when I was still working with corporate. So I was absentee, and I was getting just under 2 tons per acre from that area. So I got 2 tons per acre. I got 200 tons, and I was very happy. So it worked, 1.8 tons, and that's what everybody was getting. Close to 200 mango farmers in this part of Ghana. And then I came on retirement and decided to live full-time on the farm. And I decided to do what I call basic mechanization. Some boreholes on the mango farm. I did not even go in for high technology like drones and all that. But I got mini boom sprayers, which will spray and make sure that it dealt properly with the pests and diseases. And then we looked at the integrated approach. We made sure we didn't countenance any weeds. We did the right pruning at the right time. There were pruning that we didn't do at certain times. We applied some flower induction. And from the same 100 acres, I harvested close to 800 tons. Wow. So from 200 tons, it went up fourfold. Wow. And just so that people can believe, I was making nothing. But all of a sudden, for that particular year, I had
substantial amount,
$1.5 million Ghana cedis. Wow! So huge profit, and people got motivated. We got motivated as well. We expanded, and then this year, in spite of the fact that government had financed people to put up factories under the 1D1F, unfortunately, some of those factories have been sitting for 2 years. For whatever reason, they're not producing. So we couldn't sell all our fruits. Huge post-harvest losses. So we became more like victims of our own success.
Yeah.
And we lost pretty close to 800,000. In fact, I even estimated like fruits, the value of the fruits we lost, because Blue Skies, HPW, they came and we did assessments, and we lost something close to 12 trucks. Trailers of mangoes, a truck of which we could sell for close to 70,000 Ghana cedis. So there are issues, and I know that you said we would talk about the policy and all of that. It is mostly the implementation. So, and that's why I keep saying that it is these little things which give agriculture in this part of the world a bad name. But it is hugely profitable. I've experienced it. However, the factors, and some of them are so annoying. Very basic factor, you just need a little support from a technocrat, and it's not available, and because of that you lose money. But so just summing up, I would say that yes, mechanization is the name of the game, and like Kwame said, you bring in one tractor and there's a multiplier effect of other jobs that can be created, skilled jobs. So definitely this issue about taking jobs away from people, it's not a major issue now. It works for me, as I've explained. However, there are other touch points, as you call, along the agricultural value chain, which are not always working. You produce mangoes and sometimes you don't get a market. And in any case, the USAID, as you mentioned, United States agency, they have come in and they're trying to set up very quickly mango drying plants around the middle belt because there's a huge demand for mangoes post-COVID in Europe. So that's just my submission. Mechanization is the name of the game. We are not there yet. We've not followed the policy as it's been well articulated. But even with the little that we are doing on our farm, huge example of how it should work. But even after it's worked, the other touch points must also work, especially market access. Thank you.
All right, cool.
Thank
you. Hold on a sec. I think Nee's hand has been up for a while. Nee? Yes, Nee?
Yeah, thanks a lot. And both, thank you so much for this expose, and being victims of your own success is something that I would not wish for anyone, but it is what it is. But you see, when you put this in perspective, when you indicate that government policy, and that for that matter, government action has been to put in place a 1D, 1F, facility to, as it were, pick up these fruits, and we do not have it. And now we're looking at having you said. My question is, how do we kind of make sure that, or to galvanize our private sector to get into this area rather than have external support coming into it? Already government has made an investment, which is not working. Okay, then how can we even encourage the private sector to come on board? Bottom line, we can do what we want to do with the production. If we do not get the end coming together, then we really lose it. Just like you have fourfold of production, losing a big chunk of it simply because the final lap was not possible to take. So again, I just want us to start reflecting that in the chain, and I link it to Cecil's own with the poultry. In the chain, how do we ensure that we get everything aligned so that we can have the success that we are looking at? Over.
Okay, so quickly, we have some messages. Let me just read them out. This is from CK in London. Charles Cranting, I believe. Oh, yes. Okay, so CK says he just wanted to find out if the panel, that is we the ones here, do we have any plans of introducing some kind of cooperatives where absentee farmers can invest, especially as some Ɔdadeɛs are getting close to retirement and are looking for opportunities to invest? CK, bring your pounds, and then we'll look at it. I see one also comes from Dr. Jemima Etuanam Kasa. I'm sorry about the name pronunciation, but she's from the Upper East. Is it Upper UEW? I don't know where. Is it Upper East? UEW Aquaculture Department. And she says, well, listen to the program, really cool. The combine harvester and people making investments, they didn't really plan ahead for facing one, and she says she's facing one. A client went into fish farming without consulting or employing trained people, dug the wrong kinds of ponds, overstocked, imported the wrong feed, and everything went down the drain. Now they want to pump $5 million from an investor into something they have messed up. We ask them to hold on to money, set things right, and do one cycle before bringing in huge money. They are not ready to listen. So sometimes the practitioners themselves, the farmers themselves, don't listen to advice. But Kwame, before we do that, let me just put this question, because it is something we are all talking about, and that has to do with policy. As a country, have we been able to do large-scale mechanization? If we haven't, how can we achieve this? And I ask this question particularly because I only found out yesterday that we had a government policy on mechanization. And do people know? Are these policies known out there? Are they being applied? Does it promote the real role of agricultural mechanization in the country?
And thank you. I will put a question also to Nana, who has been in practice, I believe, with providing mechanized services and also now selling machines and things like that. First, I would like to hear the practical man. Nana?
Okay, so I have this Ghana, this document here. It says Ghana Strategy Support Program. This study was done in conjunction with IFPRI.
Okay.
That's a consortium with CGIAR. Now, I want to read a section, and it says, the AMSEC concept was initiated in 2003 to provide timely and affordable mechanized services to farmers who cannot afford agricultural machinery on their own. Initially, and I'm emphasizing on that, initially, the proposed AMSEC package included a range of agricultural machinery, such as 1. Tractor, harvesters, boom sprayers, planters, power tillers, seed drillers, slashers, ridges, and rice mills. Now, I'm jumping to read another section. It says that, however, during the AMSEC implementation, this package changed. So, my question is, what happened? So, it's a policy, it was documented, everything is moving on smoothly. Then, this document is telling us that during the implementation, the package changed. So automatically, you see that from 2003, our mechanization has not worked. Because if you look at the range of equipment that was actually included in the package, and the idea, this AMSEC was actually drafted by engineers, big policy makers and all that, and it was put together to serve 500, at least 500 smallholder farmers in every season. So if a package is put together, the target is to be able to serve 500 smallholder farmers. These are farmers who are having like 1 hectare, 2.5 acres. So at least it was okay. If you remember, or if we go back, we see that I was saying that United Nations did some study, and they said 1 tractor is to 1,500 farmers. So this AMSEC was coming in to actually reduce the deficit, or the tractor deficit that we are having. Let me give also a live example. When I was managing one of the AMSECs at Commander, I had 5 tractors, 5 plows, 5 harrows, 4 trailers, and 1 boom sprayer. All these things were made available for the AMSEC. Now, I am serving farmers who are cropping on an area of over 5,000 acres using this limited number of tractors. Now, I had a lot of issues. Sometimes before I wake up, the farmers are already there. They are by my door. Some of them are sleeping on the tractor. They are waiting for me to wake up and make sure they are served first. They even offer to buy you the diesel, even though it's my duty to get the diesel, and they pay for the service through. They will pay for the service through the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Sometimes they want to push you for you to know that if you don't do it for them, their livelihood is like you have shattered their whole livelihood.
Which is what you have.
Yes. So it has not worked. Basically, that's what I want to say. It has not worked. And that this thing I'm talking about is 2006. Sorry, 2009. And if that implementation package did not work that time, then where are we now?
Now let me ask you. In your opinion, why why didn't it work? You talked about the implementation and things, but why didn't it work practically?
Yes.
Before Nana answers, I also want to read from a policy I found yesterday, and it talks about some constraints to sustainable agricultural mechanization in Ghana. In fact, next week, our discussion will mainly be on policy on mechanization. So we will have to continue with this discussion as we are running out of time. And I want to also ask our practitioners who are on our panel today how they have experienced this. But it says the constraints: poor access of farmers to mechanization technologies. It says limited skills of machinery operators, inadequate capacity of local agricultural machinery manufacturers, poor marketing facilities for agricultural produce resulting in no guaranteed markets, inadequate supply of spare parts at machinery utilization sites, farmer lack of business management skills, unfavorable land tenure system, and poor post-harvest handling infrastructure. So in answering your question about how these farmers, you have a low number of machinery supplying 500 to take off 500 hectares, and you have farmers waiting at your doorstep. Why weren't you able to satisfy these farmers? What were your constraints?
Okay, thank you. So one, the equipment that I had at my disposal was not enough.
Okay,
that is one. And two, the farmers who were ready to also cultivate or till their lands at that time were sparsely, sort of located.
Yeah.
So to move to move one tractor over, let's say, almost 6 kilometers to one farm, then do just 2 acres, then or 1 acre, then you drive or you move it back to another person who had just called you. So even managing it became an issue for me. You understand? Now, most of them do not even have good access roads to even their farm. And sometimes you have to go around a whole stream to go and work behind and come back. You can imagine you are paying the same amount or the same price as another person who is just 500 kilometers or 200 kilometers apart. So it was very difficult. You have to either reschedule that and make sure you do a consolidated sort of request before you can actually move to the place. That was one. Others to the sort of implement that they require for their fields. They had different soil texture, different terrain altogether. Some of them do not even need a plow. They only need a harrow. So you get there and you plow, and the whole field will turn into some ridges, and now they will call in for a harrow rather, to come and do another. So an extra expense. All these things would push people off mechanization because they will say it's expensive, but they did not actually request for the right equipment or implement, because already the tractor can man only one implement. So if the tractor is coming, it's coming with the implement that you have requested. That's the other. Now the last will be that because the area was not well mapped, when it got to the time that they needed, for instance, there were farmers who needed a boom sprayer, but maybe the adjoining farmer doesn't even need it. How to even get the boom sprayer to the place to work and turn was an issue. So they had limited, sort of, they couldn't actually enjoy or benefit from the whole cycle of mechanization.
In fact, not to cut you, I think when I was trying to get the what do you call it, the grader to come to our farm, the farmer who was before me, he decided that no, it shouldn't pass through his farm. They shouldn't grade his farm because when he will lose some small what do you call it, so he didn't allow. So that was my first problem, apart from the cost. So I can identify with what you are saying. Yes.
So and the other constraint that I had has got to do with spare parts. Unfortunately, that range of, or the package that I was given to manage, were John Deere, 4 John Deeres and 1 farm truck. As at that time, the government actually put them in without spare parts.
The farm trucks, yes, because we had some too.
Yes. So when it got to servicing or when it was due for servicing, we have to either pack them or wash the filters and find a way to, because
should have called Kwame. That's Kwame's business.
Yes, that time. You understand? Yeah.
Kwame, I'll charge you for promoting your business.
So it was an issue. And most of the implements also that the government actually, added for the AMSEX had no spare parts too. For instance, the boom sprayer and the planter. When the chain gets off, that's it. You are done. You just put it down and they go and do their manual thing.
Yeah.
And when it's time for harvesting and you have done manual planting, you should know I cannot help you. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So these were some of the constraints that went through during that time.
Yes. Nana, thank you for your insight, practical experience, which is true. It means that sometimes I don't know whether the plan is well thought out, because planning for mechanization and the implementation of which equipment you cannot have a blanket one for the whole country, so everybody has to I think they have to decentralize, if I can put it that way, this service centers. Basically, the service center is for smallholders, so that you don't need to own a machine to be able to use mechanization. So it's to help that you can go and rent it and use it. But like I said in the beginning, mechanization has to go with sort of replacing what they do already. So it has to be a study. And for every place, I've seen a place in the Volta region where they virtually don't need a plow. I think they can use their hand to dig the soil or something like that. That place just doesn't need a plow nor a harrow. Maybe some drill, some heavy chisel, something. It just goes through and So if you take a plow there, you're going to worry them and things like that. So yes, and then there are three basic things that I have to say for mechanization. The training of operators, training of people, training of mechanics, and then the product support. It's been a problem all along, and we have to write it down, put it down, that if you're going to bring some machinery down, you have to train people how to use it, you have to train the mechanics how to repair it, and you have to have spare parts available for these things. If not, we'll be going round. And
okay, so let me go back to my panelists who are the practitioners, and let me ask them how much they have benefited or how much they are using mechanization in the country, and are they aware of any government policy that is in place that they are using to enhance their productions. So let me start with Cecil. Cecil.
Johnny. Yeah. So I've been back for a full year now plus. I did do a bit of corn aside the poultry. So it also gave me a bit of insights of some of the policies and support that is available at the district assembly. I was directed to somebody who had a tractor, because when I was going to do it, the charge that my small 2 acres and how much they were charging me, and I found out that even though I got a tractor referral, the tractor was way cheaper than the labor that the guys who were going to do were charging me, and the amount of work they had to do. And that's why there's a bit of worry in terms of that. So mechanization, yes, is happening but I think this is at a very low level. And I think there must be a bigger conversation. I did earlier mention different areas in poultry, freezing, access to facilities for freezing. We need to bring hatcheries back. It's all part of it. The Agric side directly impacts the poultry industry because our feed costs is directly impacted by the grains we produce and how much they cost. And we can also use, we call it mechanization, but to use technology, also provide direct access of farmers to farmers. in terms of procurement of grain. We should be able to build these platforms. But I think in a nutshell, there should be a bigger conversation. You realize we have some farmer-based organizations that are key: peasant farmers, the Farmers Organization Network, the National Poultry Farmers, Catfish. But we need to sit in one room because there's a synergy between all that we do. And then we can really look at the policy to make sure that it works across for all of us. And then the other thing I want to say about the current state that we have the practice, the equipment that is around. Decentralization definitely is key. I have done some work in years ago with the Red Cross with a lot of peasant farmers. And the model we need when we say mechanization should be relevant. And I do not think it is just the tractors. We have successfully gotten people to increase their acreage by even 7 times by just making sure that they had access to bullocks in their community. Now, these bullocks pull the plows, some use donkeys, but the bullocks need to be made available also, through that care, and they should be the right type of bullocks we develop. So you find that the issue of maintenance in some communities where a tractor may not reach, okay, if there are 3 bullocks or 4 or 5 in those communities, they can increase their acreage that they plow so long as they have an implement to use, okay, which can be locally manufactured. So we need a hybrid model, to actually fully mechanize. For me, I believe our mechanization, we should not just look completely at the models that we see, because I believe that what they see is what they want us to see. But if you go to also places like in Asia, India, and that, they're not doing the full high-tech technology, but they're producing tons of food. So we need a model that works for us. It's a combination. Yes, we'll need tractors, we'll need these things and all that, but we should not also leave growing our local possibilities that are easy to maintain. A bullock costs almost nothing to maintain, but it does a lot of work. So for me, that is the direction I'll look. There is some mechanization that is happening. It is definitely not adequate. We need a new platform to speak together. And I think even this platform that you have, we can advocate for that. I also I do some work for the Ghana Independent Broadcasters, which has over 350 radio and TV stations as members. We can look at how we can deploy this platform to relationships of advocacy, and then we deal with education and policy push. For me, this is what I believe.
Cecil, have you come across any policy documents prior to this program? Have you seen anything that is in policy that relates to your poultry industry? Sorry, I was asking that. Have you seen any policy document that talks about your industry, that guides you and relates to what you do?
There are policies. I'm actually a member of the Greater Accra Poultry Farmers Association. Okay, so there are policies that have been done for years, but you find that, and this is my experience, we have great policies. Okay, however, to actually make these policies effective, we are far from achieving most of these things. So with most of us farmers, what we do is that we said, look, yes, there are policies as government. You cannot keep waiting for this to work because we're working now. So let's do what we can. But we need to be able to have the conversation, look at together, a much bigger group that they put together. And it should be a major focus from the government side. And then we look at how we can push it.
Okay, thanks. I have seen in some videos coming from Asia where farmers are using motorcycles and using it to plow their farms. They put whatever they use for the bullocks behind the motorcycle.
They're using buffalo.
Yeah.
Buffalo.
And then they just motorcycle where they ride to their farms. and then they just use it to plow.
Acres of rice. Yes. So that's a policy. You need to feed it grass and make sure there's a vet who will make sure it's dewormed, and if it is sick, it brings it back up. An extension person. That's all, and we can get acreage of produce.
Okay,
so we need a
Sorry, we are running out of time, so I just wanted to quickly ask Richard. Richard, have you come across any policy that guides your industry where you are at the moment, your fishing area?
Right. So, not that I have actually been looking, so I'm not able to speak to this because really the skill and the model we are running is, I would say, quite a bit different. But having listened to the other speakers on the fact that these things exist in some of the other areas, I'll be looking. Also, generally, I realize that some of the failures that we have, enumerated as far as mechanization in general is concerned, or actually presents opportunities for new businesses to be spun up. So I guess these are also areas that some of us can be thinking about, to invest in.
Okay, all right, thanks. And I wanted to ask Senior Boat, in your area, I know you're in several areas, cocoa, you're in the horticultural business, you are doing other areas, but I wanted to address cocoa. How has it been successful in terms of mechanization? Boat, can we hear him? Is he on? Is he on? No? I think we've lost him, right?
Yes. So maybe to comment on the question. Currently, our big company, this big company Olam, is produced by cocoa produced by a company. Olam is a produced by, and if you go to the Samurai Boy area, the roads network that leads to the farm, even the big farm, cocoa farms, are not good. They are even not accessible by the tipper trucks and all that. So, for instance, Olam consulted John Deere and asked whether we can actually give them some solution. And our solution was to use bigger tractors with big traction or ties, with big trailers, so that you can haul the produce from the farm at least to a collection point or a holding place before it is moved to Accra or wherever you want to send it. So that's one of the solutions. Now, the farmers are also offered motorized mist blowers, which they use on their farm, which is some kind of mechanization.
It is mechanization.
Yes, and they also have some pruners that they also use, some slashers, handheld slashing, instruments and machines. So it's helping. At least it has reduced the drudgery where you have to go to the farm with your whole family, even add other families as a noboa, and go and finish, and you migrate to another person's farm. So now they're able to do it on their own very quickly. So it's really helping.
Okay, cool. Ni, this question is for you. In terms of policy, and I know that all these international organizations consult, advise, recommend, and do many other things towards national policies on agriculture. From where you sit, what do you see about Ghana's policy on mechanization?
Yeah, Zonda, I think that reading the policy as you sent yesterday evening, you will realize that FAO was part of putting it together, working together with the government. But looking at the bigger policies, you see, I always say that policy is situated within a bigger context. And I'm just taking the example that Cecil gave about looking at what potentially works for us on the hybrid approach towards, mechanization. But I just want to read something for you. This is taken from the Africa Union, right? Document. It's called the Sustainable Agricultural Mechanization, a framework for Africa. And the headline quote is this: our goal is to send the hand hoe to the museum and liberate African farmers from the back-breaking drudgery of tilling the land by hand. So you see, straight away, the outlook is that whatever we do, we should have more, or we should move away from where the hand is used in tilling the land and go into large-scale mechanization. And that is what Cecil is talking about. That is a good way to go, but we also have something else, an intermediary thing that we can use that will work for us. The bullocks, you have to put your hand to the plow and move. And that is what, is a little outside the bigger context of what the Africa Union is looking at. So I would say that yes, Ghana, we do have policy. Policy is influenced by the external environment, but internally also the practitioners must contribute. And one was saying bringing together the FBOs and I think it was Cecil, bringing the FBOs and the likes together to look at a policy and to also make an input. We need that. Policy formulation is not only for the technocrats. Policy formation is one that should be informed by all the important stakeholders, and especially those who it impacts on directly. So I would say that yes, policy do exist. What we need to start looking at the implementation and how that is monitored and how the feedback is brought back into the policy dialogue, and then to, as it were, realign the policy to suit the current situation as may prevail. Over.
All right, thank you very much. We are running out of time, but before we close, Kwame, I'm putting this question to you because it's very important, as even identified in our first policy document that we've witnessed, that some of the constraints for agricultural sustainability in mechanization includes poor access of farmers to mechanization technologies. It also says that there's lack of business management skills. Okay? And this means that, as we've been talking about, there needs to be a lot of education. So right from the level, secondary school level, university level, tertiary level, going up and training our students, there seems to be some kind of disconnect. Because if you look at even how we are training in our universities, they will tell you there's mechanical engineering, there's agric engineering, and there's agric mechanization. Unless I'm wrong, can you tie this in and just give us a quick, what your thoughts on the training and it coming from that angle to skilled farmers, who understand the new technologies that, is being put out there.
All right, thank you very much. So when it comes to basically mechanization, that's putting in new technologies into farm work. What I know is that the new technologies, these are manufacturing of new things for Agric, different things specified for Agric, and these are mostly done by the mechanical engineers, which are those in the mechanical faculty, and they are those who choose agriculture as specialized area. Okay. So basically their training is to design and manufacture and bring out all these equipment and things that people need to use. Normally it's supposed to be to solve a problem, so they have to bring it out and things like that. Now there are those who are trained also to use these equipment effectively, and those basically are in the agricultural faculty. That's what I know. That's where my training is, and we are supposed to select the right appropriate equipment and use whatever has been done effectively. So because I got this I was confronted with this thing when I was choosing a subject. So they asked, are you doing agric engineering or agric mechanization? Then I said, I don't know. I thought I was doing all it's all the same thing. Yeah. So there are those who are supposed to be on the field, and there are those who are supposed to be manufacturing things. But we all almost learn the same thing. You can jump into each other's column and things like that. So yes, I believe tech does the agric engineering with the agric mechanical engineers.
Okay.
I don't know those who do mechanization as a in the agricultural faculty.
Okay.
Yes. So basically these are the two things. But there are a lot of things. Like I said, there are those who can do. Actually, what I really wanted to do, and I never knew about it, was a tractor mechanic or agric technician.
Okay.
That is also, I think, in the polytechnics, or how do they call it now, universities or something. Technical universities, where you learn how to repair machinery, repair agric machines and things like that, and how you will couple them, use them. These are agric technicians and agric mechanics and things like that. There are those who go into crop, our normal crop and our normal animal husbandry and things like that. But basically, yes, mechanization goes in that way. Those who make machines, design machines, and those who use them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. We are actually run out of time, and I thank our panelists Nikwe Kumar, Cecil Sunkwamels, Richard Poku. I always miss his name. I say Ajima. I think he's Richard. Do we still have Richard online?
Yes.
Richard, you said me. Ajipong.
Ajipong.
Yes. Sorry. I'm sorry. Initially, I got your name wrong. And Senior Jimbot, I think he's not with us anymore. Thank you so much for joining us. And who else do we have on the panelist? Who else do we have on our panelists? There are 4 of them. Yeah, I mentioned Cesar Virgin. Oh, so that's it. And so Jimbot is not on anymore. Yes, and Jimbot. Thank you very much for joining us in our discussion this morning. Also in our studios, I have Nana Kwame Dakon. Thank you very much for joining us. And my co-host, Kwame Makuhine. In fact, he's the host. I'm supposed to be the co-host, but he has forced me to reverse the roles. Thank you all for joining us. Next week, we'll be dealing with government policy on mechanization. And in there, we'll be able to go into details about the areas about how AMSEC works and the level of education and how the policy is reaching down to the ordinary farmer. Once again, my name is John Adofening. I thank you all for joining this program, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.